Hello viewers, we were discussing English literary history, and in this video we will learn about English Renaissance of English literature. English Renaissance began in 1500 and ended in 1660 according to the period as stipulated by the scholars. And Renaissance style and ideas were slow to penetrate England and the Elizabethan era. And I would like to add here that in this video we will also discuss English Renaissance as well as Elizabethan age of English literature. English Renaissance, it started little lately in our England, and despite that, the impact of Renaissance was huge, and many scholars see its beginning in the early 1500s during the reign of Henry VIII. And after William Caxton's introduction of the printing press in England in 1476, the vernacular literature it flourished diametrically. And the Reformation inspired the production of vernacular liturgy, which led to the Book of Common Prayer in 1549. So you should remember this thing. Book of Prayer was published in 1549, and a lasting influence on literary language. The English Renaissance, it was a cultural and artistic movement in England dating from the late 15th to the 17th century. It is associated with the pan-European Renaissance that is usually regarded as the beginning in Italy and in the late 14th century. The questions also come like this, that in Europe, when Renaissance started, then you have to write Italy, okay? Like most of Northern Europe, England saw little of these developments until more than a century later. Renaissance style and ideas were slow in penetrating England, and the Elizabethan era in the second half of the 16th century is usually regarded as the height of the English Renaissance. Okay. Renaissance means, you all know, Renaissance means new thinking, okay, new thinking and new creation of new ideas, new concept, okay, means that has been not done for a long time. So that is Renaissance. And the Italian influence can also be found in the poetry of Thomas Wett. Okay, Thomas Wett, there are many poems written by him, and one of the earliest English Renaissance poets. He is considered as one of the English Renaissance poets, and he was responsible for many innovations in English poetry. And alongside Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey, they introduced the sonnet from Italy into England in the early 16th century during the period of English Renaissance. Got it? They were influenced by English Renaissance, and that's why they had used many literary genres from Italy, France, and all the European literatures. Now let's try to know about the Elizabethan period. Elizabethan period, it lasted from 1588 to 1603. So if you talk about poetry, then Edmund Spenser, he was born in 1552 and died in 1599. He was one of the most important poets of the Elizabethan period, author of The Fairy Queen that was published in 1519 and 1596, and that was an epic poem and fantastical allegory. It was celebrating the Tudor dynasty and Elizabeth I. Another major figures are Philip Sidney, born in 1554 and died in 1556. He was an English poet whose work include Astrophal and Stella, the Defense of Poetry, and the Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia, and poems intended to be set to music as songs such as Doze by Thomas Campion, 1567 to 1620. It became popular as printed literature. It was disseminated more widely in household, and John Donne was another important figure from Elizabethan poetry. Clear? Then now let's try to know about drama. And among the earliest Elizabethan plays, there are famous plays like Gorboduc and many plays of William Shakespeare and Thomas Keats, the Spanish tragedy. These were famous works, and Gorboduc is notable, especially as the first verse drama in English to employ blank verse. So this is an important thing. You must remember that which was the first verse drama where blank verse was employed. Then you have to use, Gorboduc. Okay. This was the first English drama, and for a way it developed elements from the earlier morality plays and cynic and tragedy, and in the direction which would be followed by later playwrights. The Spanish tragedy is also an Elizabethan tragedy written by Thomas Keats between 1582 and 1592, which was popular and influential in its time and established a new genre in English literature, theater, and the revenge play. So this is the man, okay, William Shakespeare. He is one of the most influential writers of Elizabethan time, and his dominance, his influence can be seen in the present days too. That's why from his works or in any exam, from his works, questions will be there for sure. That's why you have to know about his biography, about his literary works. Therefore, I am requesting you to go through William Shakespeare's biography, his famous works, his all works, and you must have read about his many works and try to know the characters of those important dramas and when it was published, who had published that whole thing. William Shakespeare, he was born in 1564 and died in 1616, and he stands out in the Elizabethan period as poet and playwright as yet unsurpassed. And in Elizabethan period, there are many literary works created, and those were very, in a very, not supreme, but those works were significant. Okay, that's why Elizabethan age is called the golden age of English literature due to its varieties of work which has enriched English literature. And Shakespeare has written many plays and from history, drama, comedy, tragedy, like that. And his historical plays include Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It. Oh, sorry, Richard III and Henry IV. And if you talk about tragedy, it also includes Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth. And if you talk about comedy, there are plays like Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, and the late romances or tragic comedies. Shakespeare's career continues in the Jacobean period too. So we will try to read in our next videos. Other important figures of Elizabethan theatre, it includes Christopher Marlowe. So he is one of the greatest writers of his time, and still he is. And Ben Jonson, Thomas Becker, John Fletcher, and Francis Beaumont. So there are many writers of this time, and they had enriched the English literary field. That's why Elizabethan period is one of the most prosperous period of English literature. So Jacobean period, this we will talk in our upcoming classes or videos. Bye bye.